pastor at the Congregational Church here in town, and John's going to offer up a prayer before our meeting. John?
Boy, don't we need it.
Yes, we do.
All right, let's pray. Dear Father, we thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to be here in the warmth of this building. We thank you, God, for the privilege of serving this city of Perry and for serving one another. We ask, God, your blessings and guidance upon this group here, Lord, as they deliberate, as they meditate, as they maybe even make decisions tonight, Lord. We pray, God, that it would all be for the benefit and the rebuilding and the building up of this city. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. We'll wait a few minutes. I know we have some people coming in virtually to our meeting tonight. We'll wait till Devin gives us the all clear on that. Well, I believe it's 7, so we'll call the meeting to order. We do have to make a little bit of an adjustment because we have people virtually at the meeting. Devin, do you want to explain to people what we have to do differently? Like when I take the roll call, they have to identify where they are and stuff like that?
That's only for our council members, and none of our council members are virtual tonight.
Okay, all right.
But if they were just for all new council, if Mr. Wood would have decided to do virtual, we would have had to have done all votes by roll call, so to identify all of your votes. Once we go to January 1st, you'll also have to say on record during roll call, your name, the city where you're currently at virtually in the county, so that I can document it and put it in the minutes, okay?
Well, then we will take roll call. Craig Elliott.
Here.
Mindy Galbavy.
Here.
Adam Grass.
Here.
Larry Lambert.
Here.
Bob Porter.
Here.
Terry Wood. So I guess we have a quorum, so we'll move ahead to our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I guess I did that backwards, but it still works, I guess. Again, if I'm doing something wrong, make sure you tell me. We need to hear approval of the agenda.
I move the agenda be adopted as printed. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the agenda be adopted. All those in favor?
Aye.
So we will move ahead now to hearing from Larry Lambert regarding the Christmas light contest winners.
Okay. First off, I'd like to say that we had a great turnout in terms of overall lighting within the city. There were a lot of beautiful lights out. So the judges, and I'm going to let everyone know who the judges were this year, but we were able to consent, but we certainly had some discussion along the way in doing that. The judges for this year were all of last year's winners participated, as well as Mayor Sue Hammond and her husband Ron, Mindy Galbavy and her husband Tom, as well as myself and my wife Linda. Honorable mention folks that we had this year were Robert Kittle from 322 Lamb Street, Laura Conway from 104 Madison Street, and Kim and Sharon Buckholtz from 520 Wild Oak Lane. And moving on to our actual winners with some money involved. Third place went to Adam Walters and Madeline Slocum at 239 Lamb Street. Is Adam or Melinda here by chance this evening? Okay, we'll make certain we get their award to them. Moving on to second place, Joel and Carol Crane from 119 West First Street. Are Joel or Carol here this evening? Okay,
Are we on the right floor?
You might ask those two
yes.
again.
We're just going through the Christmas light winners. Are you here for,
Yes, we are.
and you are,
It's Madeline Slocum, Adam Walters. We live right across the way.
okay. We'll back up just a little bit. Come on in. We just announced here the third place winners, and I'm Larry Lambert on the council. I coordinated the judging activity, and I'd like to present you with the
Nice, thank you guys very much.
handshake.
I know, it's so weird not handshaking anymore. I feel so rude to people.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys, thank you very much. Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas. We all set?
You are.
All set? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
For coming.
Yeah, have a good one, you guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Okay, once again, our second place winners were Joel and Carol Crane. We'll go ahead and get their check to them. And our first place winners this year were Josh and Lindsay Bonard from 222 East First Street. Congratulations. Good luck. And once again, Mother Nature cooperated, so we had a great night for going around looking at a lot of great lights and judging. So once again, thanks to everybody in the city for participating.
And thank you, Larry, for putting that together. You did a great job organizing. We didn't get lost or anything.
Okay, thank you.
But speaking of lost, I've skipped over something we should have done already, and that's regarding reading and approval of the minutes of the last meeting.
Move that we suspend the rules, waive the readings, and approve the minutes from the December 3rd, 2020 regular meeting.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we waive the reading and approve the minutes from the December 3rd regular meeting. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so now we can move down again. We do have the audit report, and we just got it today, well, yesterday about 4 o'clock. So I know most of you, if not all of you, haven't seen it until today. But we do have Luke Downing, the CPA from Clark, Schaefer, and Hackett, joining us by Zoom, who will present this audit. Luke,
Luke, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me, Sue, and
Yes.
council. Like Sue said, Luke Downing with Clark Schaefer Hackett, business advisors. I'm a senior manager of assurance services, and I lead the audit team here for the city of Perry. I will go out first thing and apologize. Sue mentioned that you guys just did get the audit. With everything going on, we have been quite delayed and trying to scratch and claw to get everything caught back up. So I know timeliness is, in the last couple of years, you guys have known us to get the audit done a lot sooner. And, going forward, that's what we plan on doing. Just a crazy year, and we're trying to tread waterways with, a lot of other things going on. So, so my apologies for that. And, but yeah, I'll go through this. I don't know if you guys want me to share my screen or if it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Doesn't seem like a lot of people.
I think most of us are joining you just on our phone, so
Okay.
I don't think we could probably read it anyway.
Okay. I'll just go through and touch point on some of the highlights. And if you guys have any questions or want me to stop anything like that, just let me know. And I can most certainly do that. We'll start on page 3 of the page 4 of the PDF, or page 2 of the actual audit report. It's the second page of what we call the independent auditor's report. Top paragraph, it's the opinion paragraph. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the governmental activities and the business type activities, each major fund, and that remaining fund information for the city of Perry. So that's an unmodified opinion. It means that we didn't find any issues with these numbers as presented. Yeah, so basically they're good numbers. That's the audit opinion you strive for, is an unmodified opinion. The rest of the wording in here is just kind of boilerplate legal mumbo jumbo that we have to put in. So
Okay.
pages 3 through 7 are what is called the management's discussion and analysis. It is unaudited information that comes out of the financial statements that just helps paint the picture a little bit better, gives you a little bit more feel for things going on, any big activities. It kind of compares information to the prior year to see, okay, well, how did the city do this year compared to how the city was doing last year? So if you look on page 4 of the audit, it just goes through statement of net assets, of net position. So it just shows where your assets lie compared to the prior year in both the governmental activities and the business type activities. And then the next page, on page 5, that breaks down the revenues, this year compared to last year. And so the reason they do that is it's always a good comparison to last year. I mean, you're going to have outline information, you're going to have information that changes, that you'll know why, but it's always good to just kind of see, where are we at compared to last year. Are we doing better? Are we doing worse? And then you can look at that outline information. If there's a big jump from one year to the next, you can dig a little deeper and say, okay, well, why is this so much different, whether it be good or bad? So some good information in there. And then I'll go down to the statement of net position, which is on page 8. And that just gives a big picture overview, shows you have total assets within the city of just over 8 million, total liabilities of just over 4 million. So you have basically a $4 million net position, of which is about 3.2 million in capital assets. So that's all the land you own, the city hall building, the McQueen House, everything like that is in there. So outside of that, you have about $700,000 of net position. On page 9 is the statement of activities. You'll often hear it referred to as a income statement. This just shows your revenue and expenses broken down kind of by category, so you can see what the general government spent, what was spent on public safety, public works, so on and so forth. So and then at the bottom it gives you the property tax revenue, state shared revenue, things like that. So you see the change in net position is basically the net income for the year. So in the governmental activities, you had about $30,000, and in the business type activities, you had about $57,000 of income. So moving on to the next page, page 10 is it's kind of a more detailed version of the balance sheet. And this is just the governmental activity. So just the general fund, the major street, local building authority, and the drug law enforcement. But that just shows by fund, where are your assets, where are your liabilities. Typical fashion, you can see your general fund is holding the majority of your assets and related liabilities. But in those governmental funds, you have about $1 million in assets. And not very many liabilities, only about $30,000 in liabilities. So page 12 is the statement, technically the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. it's an income statement basically. And again, this just shows the more detailed information, general broken out by the different governmental funds. So again, the majority of the activity is going to be in the general fund with the major street and local street in there as well, and the building authority. So overall in these funds, you had about $100,000 of change in fund balance or net income. The next statements are what we call the proprietary funds. The proprietary funds are basically set up to be self-sufficient. So these are the ones where you get charges for services is the main revenue source. So it's kind of like a standalone business. These funds could or are meant to run on their own without being supplemented by the general fund or any other fund. So your main source of income is the users, which is your residents of your water and your sewer and things like that. So you see, the sewer fund has about 3.5 million in assets. The water fund has about 2 million in assets for a total of about 5.5 million in assets. Related liabilities total about just under 3 million. So you have a net position of about 2.5 million, of which is your capital assets. So your infrastructure, your treatment, your pipes and all that is about 2.1 million. Income. So this is where you kind of see that user income. This charge for services and this is on page 15 of the audit. The charge for services is the main driver of everything in these funds. That's how they support themselves. And you can see that there was no contributions from the other funds, which is good, and they're still running positive. So that's what you like to see of those enterprise funds. They're self-sustaining. They're not making a huge profit, but they're making enough where they can make sure that your water system and sewer system is, able to plan long-term with, any repairs or improvements that it needs to make to stay current. And then the next thing is the notes to the financial statements, and that's on pages basically 18 to 35. Numbers by themselves don't always paint the picture, so we give a little bit of more information, as I like to say, is to finish. So the notes to the financial statements, they break down, they kind of give some detail about the city, what's reported within the city, the different types of funds, accounting policies and procedures and things like that. So that way the users can have a little bit of background on what's going on within the city. But, if you go to, say, all right, we'll go to note 2, which is on page 24. Well, we know the total property taxes you collected, was based on, this just gives some more information. You have 13.3874 mils, gives the estimated property tax or property value within the city. So, on the financials and the income, you just see property tax and you see, X amount of dollars collected, 625,992. But this gives some information about, a little bit more information. So just helps paint that picture and give a little bit more background. So does anyone, well, let's see. Okay. And then we go down here and we have some budget to actual statements. Yep, on page 36 is budgetary comparison schedules. So, as the council knows, you have to legally adopt a budget before the start of every fiscal year. And then within that fiscal year, you're able to amend that budget. And so this just shows, okay, what do we start with on a budgetary level? Where did we end? Was there any big changes? What did we actually end up spending? Was anything over budget or under budget? So if you look at that, your total budget for expenditures was 1.2 million, came in at 1.1 million, and there's no specific line item that's over budgeted or under budget, I should say, which is good because that is a state of Michigan MCL code that you have to stay within budget, and we don't have to report anything's over budget. So And then there's budgetary comparison schedules for the rest of the funds, the major street, local street. And again, there's no one item that line item that's over budget in the expenditure category. So that is very good. And then 43, 44 are just the schedule of changes in net OPEB liability. Just shows, in the future you're going to have to pay this, or you guys pay as you go. So it just kind of breaks down the activity within the OPEB fund. So that is all I have on the financial statements themselves. Does anyone have any questions, concerns, anything they would like me to address a little bit more detail?
Anyone
have any questions for Luke? I guess not.
Alrighty.
This
Does, Luke, if I'm correct, it does have to be submitted to the state, and the deadline is the end of this month. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So,
If Luke is finished, are you done? I don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, I was just checking on one more thing to make sure I didn't have any other communication to share. Let me pull that up. Sorry, I had opened it and then I accidentally closed it while I was swapping pages. So give me just 1 second to open that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a letter we have to send to the board at the end of every audit. And it allows us to let you know if there's any issues we encounter, any challenges that we had, any disagreements with management, if we consulted anyone outside of our organization for any issues. There was nothing like that to report. Like I said, the audit was delayed a little bit because of, just being backlogged on COVID. But outside of that, Joanne and Devin and staff have been fantastic. Getting us everything remotely. There's probably sometimes we misplaced something, or it got lost in the shuffle, and they were happy to resend it. So it's always a pleasure to work with Joanne and Devin and the staff there, and always very polite and very helpful. So we appreciate that.
Good. Well, that's good to hear.
So yeah, that is all I have, unless you guys have any questions. As Devin knows, Devin reaches out frequently on questions she has. I like that. I like staying in contact. I like, and Joanne does as well. And, it's better for us really to be ahead of the game. So if something comes up and they're not quite sure how to handle it, I encourage a phone call or an email, and we'll figure it out at the time. Because if we wait, 6 months or 12 months for the next audit, it could be something that we could have easily fixed back then. Now it's a little bit harder, maybe it's something to do with the budget where you can amend it after year end. So, always reach out. They have my contact info. Anyone on the board, you, Sue, anyone, always available year round to help out with anything.
And we appreciate that. Okay, if no one has any questions for Luke, then I guess we'll let him go, and we'll talk about this under other business.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luke.
Yeah, thank you guys again for allowing Clark Schaefer Hackett to be your auditors, and everyone have a nice evening, happy holidays, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Moving on then, in our pre-approved report presentation, Bob Otke from the DDA is here to talk with us.
Is Justin still there?
Justin is there, and Josh is there. Nope, not. You said Brent was coming up?
Who?
Brent?
No.
Okay. Justin is online.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
Justin would
here.
like to make a few comments because he has to go.
Oh, okay.
He'll make a few short comments and Lisa will call him
Okay.
down there.
Okay, Justin, so we're going to let you have the floor now because you have to move on to something else. So you can go ahead, and then Bob will follow you.
Super. Thank you, Mayor Sue. Good evening to the council, everyone there. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah?
Very
I think
good.
we're
Thank you. I apologize. Yeah, I had previous commitment, I was not able to make it down to City Hall tonight, but I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you for just a couple of minutes. This is certainly something that, as the head of the Economic Development Organization serving Shiawassee County, we really believe in DDAs, in downtown development authorities. And we can certainly answer any questions you have, but just to give you a quick overview, it is a tool that is allowed to municipalities in Michigan to encourage development or redevelopment of properties by creating zones, particularly commercial zones here, to try to entice more people to invest in the community. So it's a tool that's been around a long, long time. And I can say that we have many in operation already in Shiawassee County. Some have been around for several decades. So I definitely think it's an opportunity for the city to explore. We're in full support. Specifically how it works in terms of economic opportunity and advancing projects, there are a few things that go with it. The primary tool that is utilized is something called tax increment financing. So essentially what that means is anything in your downtown area that is already taxed at a current value remains taxed at that value. So whatever the city is getting now on those properties, whatever the county, the library, that all stays put. The idea here is as new development comes online, either new buildings or rehab buildings that increase the value of the property in that downtown zone, that increased value in property, which normally brings increased taxes, those dollars can be utilized, that increment, to be able to fund activities to support that downtown area. So that's what is known as tax increment financing. But I think maybe even more importantly, that's on the table here is there are state and federal resources, including grants, that can be made available to communities that have DDAs in place. So we've had some previous discussion, previous councils about possibly utilizing some of the support available from our state economic development organization. They have grant programs. There are some federal supports as well that you can't qualify for unless you have a DDA in place, a downtown development authority. So it really opens the door to a lot of opportunity for the community. You do have to designate a boundary for that. So it's really not about the whole city. It's really a very targeted area that you believe is good for development. And I know Bob will talk a little bit about that, specifically about what area we've looked at before as far as potential growth. But it really is something that, as I said, I think gives the city potential to be able to support growth. And so what can those dollars be used for? What can those incentives be used for? It could be a number of things, but typically they fall into two categories. One would be infrastructure related. So if you wanted to do something that would either beautify the downtown area or provide some type of public benefit element, so it could be lighting, landscaping, things of that nature, that is a way you can use some of these dollars. And then also what I think is really, really critical for our businesses today is it can also potentially be utilized for marketing. So trying to support all of the great small businesses that are operating within the downtown area, they need all the help they can get right now. And some of these dollars could potentially be utilized for the community, for the city of Perry, to promote those businesses and encouraging people to do things like shop local, take out local. So once again, really great tools, really great programs that could really be, I think, very helpful in strengthening the businesses that you already have operating in the downtown, and then also attracting new businesses to locate and redevelopment of buildings and things of that nature. And I want to stress one more thing. Again, I think it's very important. This is not a new tax. This is something, I've heard that concern before. This is not a new tax or a new millage per se. This is something that only comes with the value from the increase in the value of the property that comes from the development. So I think that's very, very important to make that distinguishment. So bottom line, this is a very, very high level overview. I, as the economic developer for the county, will be happy to work with the council, to work with Bob, to work with the planning commission to advance this. Anything you need, any resources we can bring to the table to help inform you. If you want to do a workshop, maybe we set aside a half hour and an hour to do a full in-depth workshop. But I really strongly recommend if you can put it together, it's going to help the city a lot. So with that, I don't know if anyone has any questions for me, or I can turn it over to Bob.
Does anybody have any questions for Justin?
I would like something specified. DDAs do have the ability to choose taxes, no, correct?
Justin, this is Mindy Galbavy. She's a council member. She's asking a question. Could you repeat that, Mindy?
Yeah.
I believe DDAs have the ability to raise taxes within the boundaries by 2 mills, as well as do special assessments.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Yes, so that is something, that's an additional, it's not required. And in fact, the city of Owasso, I believe, is the only one of the DDAs in Shiawassee County that have that additional millage. Now, that can be something that the representatives, the DDA, the businesses in the downtown, can make a choice if they want to add on if they want to take on that tax burden. That is voluntary. It is not required. You don't have to do that. As I said, it wouldn't be a required millage like your normal city operating millage. So that would be something, obviously, you would have to, if you form a DDA, if you put a plan together with potential projects, that would be where you would need to go to the members, the property owners in the DDA, and say, hey, we want to do these things. Would you be supportive of levying that millage? And that millage, if it is supported, would only be for the property owners within that territory, within the DDA. It wouldn't be a citywide millage or not. So, that is one of those things that, once again, you could do it. You need to make sure that everyone was supportive of it. I would probably not start with that necessarily because, obviously there has to be trust and understanding that's built. But if there is a work plan of projects and infrastructure and marketing that the downtown would like to undertake, and if there is a willingness on the owners to do that, that millage could be levied, but it is not required.
Does that answer your question? Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Justin, I think we're set. You can mosey on.
I will be, as I said, I will be available as a resource to all of you. Sue, you know how to get a hold of me. Call me, message me anytime.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, Bob, what would you like to tell us?
Now I get to talk, and I get to take my mask off since I'm way up here.
But Bob is the chairman of the planning commission.
Correct. All right, I'm going to bring up the DDA again. I've been asked to provide some facts, which I provided everybody with a sheet in front of you that has the DDA on the top of it, and I will be talking about that. These numbers that are on here are from DDAs within Shiawassee County, of which Perry is the only municipality, or township or city in Shiawassee County that does not have a DDA. So this is something that we're trying to get together to benefit the businesses in town and make Perry grow. Some have been around for 30 to 40 years,
And when they started, as Justin said, that's your base point that you start with. And from that point on, any additional taxes that are in there will go to the DDA. Now, if you look at the top number here, we have operating budget of $3.3 million. The operating budget, this is of all the DDAs within Shiawassee County. They captured $124,000 that went to the DDA, which is 3.7% of the amount of money collected. Now, this is all of Shiawassee County and all municipalities. Now, if you go down to the source of DDA revenue, the actual money that they got from the cities, that the cities took in, was $3.6 million, of which $129,000 went to the DDA. That amounts to 19.1%. Now remember, these were all started 30 and 40 years ago, so inflation and everything else is taking place along that line. So that money is in there. The DDA, as Mindy asked earlier about the assessment, the only community DDA that has made an assessment in all of Shiawassee County is Owasso. And as she stated, and Justin verified, that is a voluntary 2 mills, and that amounted to 4.6%. Down at the bottom, you see DDA funds not from local operating tax. If you look at that, 76.3% of the money that went into the DDA came from other sources. This is the grants that the doors are open for us. So if you take the investment using their numbers of 19.1% investment on City of Perry's position to return 76% on the investment is a pretty good return of investment. Now the timetable for this to happen, in order to get it functioning so that we can start collecting taxes, is going to take 12 to 14 months to put it together. So in reality, the earliest that we could have it going is March of 2022. Perry's budget is, the operating budget is $613,000, I'm in the bottom line. And if we just took a random, grab it out of the air and took $2,000 of captured taxes in there, that's only 0.326% of the budget. And I've estimated previously that the first year we probably should get $1,200 to $1,800 is what we should collect through the tax increment financing plan. Now, our proposal, we're going to line up the boundaries, and I've talked to Justin about this, and he agrees with it, that it would start in the downtown area and progress all the way out to the four corners in a T-shaped organization or operation area for the Downtown Development Authority. One other thing that I will mention, there is a Miracle Mile program that ties in with the DDA, and we don't have to get into it now, but it would benefit everybody if we got into it right at the same time. It's going to reduce our cost because a lot of the things we have to do for the Miracle Mile and the DDA is the same thing. And it only, and that's a big only, covers the downtown area. From the railroad tracks south to the fire station. That's all it covers. And it opens up a whole bunch more doors along there for them, in addition to the DDA. So we could have a DDA and I hope the name's Miracle Mile, but it's something like that. So, but it's tied right in with the DDA. So, does anybody have any questions? Mindy?
Did you ever confirm if the boundaries can go around residential property? Did that get confirmed?
Yes, they can. Some of the requirements, if we have so many residents within the DDA district, we have to have a residential board. And by designing the boundaries we eliminated, because when we first took off, we made it easy and made all the boundaries just encompass everything. And we grabbed the apartment building up there. And when we did that, that threw us into this residential thing. So we took that out. The head person at DDA in Michigan said that we should leave it in there and just suffer with the residential boundary. If we did that, if somebody would burn the building down and they built something else, if it's in a DDA, we can capture that tax. If it's not, we're just out of luck. But you can go, it has to be contiguous, which means that it's all connected. You can't have one for downtown and another one here and another one up here. They all have to be connected. And you can use the streets to connect them.
Bob, is there a place, I've tried to do some research, and it's hard to find any information. I have a little bit, but nothing on the restrictions on boundaries or anything, or what you're proposing is correct or allowed. Do you have a website or somewhere I can go to do more research on my own?
I will get that to you, Bob.
Okay.
I used to know it off the top of my head.
That's fine, because I did try and I can't.
Yeah, it's anything that you want to know about the DDAs.
Okay.
Did you find the actual law?
I found some information on it, and
I
yes,
can
and
give you-
I found the law. I did not read the law, but I got a summary of it somewhere here. I stack of stuff.
www.legislature.mi.gov should give you the complete DDA law.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew.
Legislation.
It's rather on-
.gov.
www.legislature.mi.gov.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I found that a lot was missing as far as details like how many residential properties are allowed. It's supposed to be set up for deteriorating property. So how many deteriorating properties are needed to qualify? That I ended up finding some information under the Attorney General rulings. And maybe Sue knows, because didn't you serve on?
I did, but I know a lot of
Township board?
those regulations have changed since I served on the township DDA. So I would recommend that we look it up, and make sure, or get the information from Bob so we have accurate. But yes, there is a percentage that of the properties within the boundaries that can be residential. And Bob kind of touched on that.
So what we're proposing is with the T is to basically all along Lansing Road to the boundaries of the city, and taking every business along in that area, and then going down M52 to the downtown and catching all of that, but leaving out any of the residentials except for Carl's and
You're gonna get some apartments like upstairs and the businesses, and they would be counted as residents. But yes, it was there. We could come up 52, and when we got to Carl's, we could cut back to the backside of their property and come up to pick up Carl's.
Is there any other areas you would be getting or looking to get besides that?
Well, the monument store.
We got a fuel one there that you probably.
Yeah, there's a flower shop along there, a couple other businesses, car wash. We would pick up as many businesses as we could because everybody's gonna benefit from it. And at one point in time, just so those of you who don't know, we went to every business in town and provided them with a summary, went door to door, and everybody that I talked to was for it. The truck stop people agreed to even serve on the board of it and came to several meetings of it until everything fell apart. But everybody in town is for it as long as it does not increase their taxes by doing it. And they all understood, once we explained it to them, that they all understood that.
Hey Bob, I got a question. The whole purpose of this thing is to see things grow. We all want to see that, see businesses thrive, do those kind of things. Question I have is how does it work whenever we capture new taxes? We would anticipate growth, and then DDA would capture those taxes, but I would also anticipate an increase in need of public safety. So if the DDA is capturing those increased taxes and the city is needful to provide additional police force, but the DDA captures the tax, how does that work on us?
Now, I'm only going on what I understand the law is. The money that is captured by the DDA has to be spent within the DDA boundaries. And if the city of Perry increased the police force, let's say they just increased the police force, and 40% of the business or the area that they covered was in the DDA, 40% of that money could be paid to the police department. Now, in Owasso's case, the DDA takes care of all of the lights in downtown Owasso and the city streets. They take care of all.
Yearly? Yearly, like the maintenance yearly, or
Yeah.
just the renewal, or?
I understood it's anything that's expensed in downtown and lights, they take care of.
Okay.
That's according to Josh.
So that could be savings in a city budget if the DDA is helping support the downtown business area in that aspect that you
Yeah.
speak of. Okay.
So just so I'm clear, Bob, too, on this, so what you're saying is if there's increased businesses and need for increased patrol, unless 40% of that area is covered by DDA that the police would be covering, then it would still fall entirely on the city for those kind of increase of services.
Well, I pulled the 40% just out of the air.
Oh, okay, okay.
You can
But
make
there
it
is a
fun.
percentage in which then the
Well,
DDA...
you can spend anything that needs to be spent that the council and the planning commission and the DDA decide to spend the money on, as long as it's spent within the DDA district.
Things, I'm sorry. Things that the DDA can do, like Justin mentioned, are physical improvement.
Sure.
And Perry Township's DDA paid for the lighting that's along Lansing Road now, that goes from, I think, from Alcesser's on down to Bennett Drive and then through that industrial park. Well, it goes on down farther than that because it goes down to Joe Audia's body shop too. But those new lights that are along Lansing Road, the DDA put those in. And they do also pay the electric bill and the maintenance of those lights. So if we had a DDA along Main Street, as you're defining, and we needed lighting additional or to replace what's there, the DDA could do that. The city
Sure.
would not have to.
Sure.
If they needed new sidewalks within that DDA district, new curb and gutter, all that physical stuff within the DDA boundary could, if they had enough money, could pay for that type of thing, which would obviously then give the city more room in their budget to do some of the things like you're talking about,
Sure.
as far as additional police department.
Yeah, my biggest concern in any of it is this, and that's the reason I'm seeking clarity, is I would hate to see a situation in which increased city expenditures are necessary, and the only ones paying for it are residential citizens. See, to me, that doesn't seem to work.
Well,
That's my only concern. That's the reason why I'm asking. If there's increased expenditures with increased businesses, if the DDA is capturing all of that, then that, my understanding is then that's not coming to the city. That's money that can't be used for increased expenditures for us that the DDA's controlling.
Well, the DDA has got to work with the council,
Okay.
and, you know, the DDA would have their own bank account. And as an example, Chesaning has $199,000 in the DDA bank account now. There's just-
Sure, but I mean, is that at the council's authority to spend that, or is that the DDA's?
It depends on how it's written and set up.
Yeah.
It would be better to have it as a DDA because they're interested in spending money to improve the downtown and the district itself area. And if it benefits the city, then yes. But you're looking, in all reality, before anything would have any kind of an impact on the city, you're looking at least 10 years before that would happen.
Sure, and I don't want to sound negative on things, that's not, that's just my biggest concern, is that is set up in such a way that that it is not capturing taxes to the extent at which it ties the city's hands to pay for it, and the DDA is sitting on a stack of cash and there's nothing we can do about it.
No, you know, the council has the total authority to just say, okay, DDA, you're out of business, and just vote it out and it's done.
So let's talk about the grants then. We don't want to wait 10 years to do grants.
No.
But we need money for that. So do you believe, and Justin would probably know, I can ask Justin too, but that we would be able to go forward on projects sooner than later?
Yes.
That they're not going to need matching, and if you need matching funds, are you going to come to the city until the DDA gets the funds for a grant?
Okay.
Because it benefits the
grant
city.
the initial grants are gonna be like Darling Hardware put that facade on in front of the building there. The initial grants would be based for a particular business. So we would approach Darling and tell Vic over there, hey, you know, we can get a grant. Would you be willing to put up 10% of the total cost, and the grant will pay the other 90?
Okay,
And
that's
he'd say, yeah.
good to know. I
And
mean,
then
it was
we
a
can,
good question,
it
so
doesn't
that
come from the
we
city.
don't want the DDA to have to wait 10 years. And that's all I heard, so I just wanted to paint a different picture with the grants, and
No,
that's a
as
good
soon as-
picture.
As soon as the DDA is officially formed,
Mhm.
now it doesn't have to be March 2022, it can be sooner than that if everything can get done before that. As soon as that is done, we can then turn around and write grants. And I've talked to Justin about that. He said, no, we don't write the grants, but we can provide people that will tell you how to write them. And that's what I was interested in.
Yeah.
Now, is
And
it
my
gonna be
biggest
that
concern was where so many grants, you can, there's so many different options. You do it by labor, materials, or it's a cash amount. And that's where, when you paint a picture that it's gonna take 10 years before there's funding, I just wanted to paint a better picture, that things can happen sooner than later.
Yeah.
And you gave examples of what could happen that is not gonna be expected out of taxpayers' money.
Has
And that's
anybody
all.
heard of the coronavirus? There was a grant that is currently out there that went out to all DDAs within the state of Michigan, that they could apply, the businesses could apply for a $25,000 grant, but you had to have the DDA in place to do it. And of course, we didn't have it, so we didn't get it.
I really appreciate you being here tonight, Bob, and I know we could go on all night with questions and what-ifs and things, but I just feel the need to say and address what Adam's talking about. He's imagining that growth will take place, and so that will put more, duties on the city, to provide services, police, and so forth. My thought is, once the economy starts to come back, and it will eventually, that growth's going to take place anyway. If we have a DDA in place, that's going to help us to be able to improve those areas, strengthen those areas, and include the downtown and the businesses along Main Street in that growth. If we don't have a DDA in place that by that time has some money in their coffers, that's not going to happen. It's going to all just be out there, and the downtown, our downtown area, will be lost.
Right.
So I think a DDA would help to keep us a strong City of Perry business area from our existing downtown out to what will become businesses along Lansing Road.
Right. Well, the idea is they'll come for this and find this.
That's what I would hope.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have questions for Bob?
Yes.
Mhm.
Bob, going kind of what Adam is asking a little bit, and I'll ask it hopefully in a different way, maybe it's a similar idea. You mentioned this. So like, for instance, KFC is getting built out here. Say we get a DDA, in place before it's built, and we receive property taxes from that. The DDA would get the property taxes from the here on out because it's a new business under the DDA.
I'm not 100% sure on that, and I don't want to even take a guess.
Okay.
There would have to be some establishment as to the base. And, the base, the city cannot have a building out there that's supplying things and protecting without some income from it. So
I was wondering, that'd be something maybe we'd be good to look up or find out, because Justin, the way he said something kind of made it sound that way also. I know we've talked a little bit about this the last planning commission meeting, that it wasn't sure if all new business from the point the DDA started from then on gets the property taxes from that, or does the city get a certain level and then the DDA only gets a little bit above, whatever is above that level?
Well, if I had to look at it, and if it comes up that if somebody builds a building out here and the DDA gets all the property tax from it, it's no good for the city.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100% no good.
My understanding, again, I wouldn't want to absolutely say, but the last scenario you mentioned, the city gets a base, and then the DDA gets the gravy. They get a little bit off the top. And certainly, we could talk with Troy Parmalee out at Perry Township, because they've had that happen because their DDA district's like 40 years old or 30 years old.
Yeah.
So they've had new businesses go in, and he would absolutely know how that worked.
Well, don't they get the increased value of the property? That's
Not
what
all
they
of
get to
it.
keep?
They don't get all of it. That's what I'm saying. The city would continue to get a percentage, and the DDA gets a percentage, but they don't get all of it.
Increase.
That's the way I heard Justin too, Mindy, and certainly I think this thing can bring a lot of help, but this would be the one concern I would have with it, is understanding those figures. Because obviously, if things increase and we have more cost, we can't have an entity that the council has to go through to get funding to take care of city responsibilities.
Well,
That would be my concern.
I can't imagine that all the cities and townships in Shiawassee County would have DDAs if that were the case. I just can't
Well,
even
if
imagine
you look
that.
at the sheet that I gave you, there's $129,275 that was captured DDA in the tax increment financing. And there's got to be buildings that were built that are more expensive than that.
Sure.
And if you took the whole thing, that would make that number go sky high.
So the core key component of a DDA is the ability to capture grants through these two programs.
That's really the real advantage over doing what we're doing today, is to have the opportunity to leverage state and federal money that we don't today.
So the struggle in this whole thing, in the scenario, is getting somebody that knows how to write grants so it'd be capable of doing that for the DDA to develop it and get those monies captured.
So we have to get the DDA started before we can request that.
Mm-hmm.
there has to be certain base things that have to be done to make application to have a DDA, and then, you know, go from there. But if you have specific questions, such as how much of the tax is captured by the DDA and how much stays with the city, that could be perhaps something you could investigate for us, Bob, and bring back to us.
Yeah. I noticed that Justin said he'd be willing to come in and do a presentation. Maybe he would have more of those things that he could come in and share with us in an actual presentation time. If
Yeah,
if
that
we have
would
it.
be, Justin would be able to get those,
Yeah.
but I will work with him and put everything together. What's our next step, Sue?
Well, we do have the opportunity to have the council decide tonight whether they're going to approve your applying, moving ahead and taking those steps to become a DDA.
Okay.
If I understand correctly, there's some cost related to that. Do you have those numbers with you tonight?
No.
Okay.
We did that a couple years ago, and off the top of my head, I believe it was Rowe that made a quote to us. It was about $12,000 to put it together. And they would do most everything.
So you still feel that we need a company to put it together for us? That if we're not able to,
We would either do it by an attorney or we would do it by an engineer, honestly, Mindy. I'm pretty good at putting public hearings and all that, but there is a legal format. I mean, just a little bit I was reading to the format that was put in the proposal back in 2017-18 by Rowe. It was reviewed by our city attorney, and he had stated that, yeah, you can have them do it, or our city attorney will be doing it. So, you know, I don't know how much it would cost to have our city attorney, but I would imagine with all of the steps and the processes and the legal format, the mailing, the notification that's involved to get the yays and nays involved, I would feel much more comfortable to do it right by either committing to one or the other, either hiring a firm or having the city attorney. Either way, I think we would pay.
did Justin say if most of the communities were, if that's how they were doing it?
Most of them go to use a company. Now, in that quote that was there was $12,000 roughly, and this was 3 years ago, that was quoted, and then there was an additional $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 for if they did something else. And that something else we decided we could do. You know, they could tell us, okay, you gotta do this. You know, it's like putting on a public hearing. You know, they would come in and just do everything, we just sit there and look. But we decided we could do the public hearings to keep the costs down.
They would do the legal boundaries and all that kind of stuff. That's also included. Because I had that shocker kind of question asked by somebody else by me, and I said, I've looked at the proposal, and it's, you know, it's like building the water treatment plant. I mean, there's a lot of intricate stuff that has to be put into place, and mapping and all that kind of stuff, because we're dealing with the state after we're done, and so everything's got to be
Well,
spot
I
on.
know Mr. Bridges didn't know a lot of it, but I know we have new attorneys, and I thought maybe they were more
Well, it's a thought.
educated with.
But you understand, so we're on the same page, you understand that whatever way we are gonna do a cost, whether we use our city attorney or that, okay.
I think it really takes a specialized person or persons, and in the case of Rowe, it would be persons. And they each have their own specialty, they, you know, bring it all together then, and then you've got a application this thick that goes into the state. I doubt that there are attorneys who have that specialty. truly. I wouldn't want to put on a volunteer person who chairs the planning commission the responsibility of trying to put that together and then have the legal responsibility of saying that this application is correct. I mean, they're not educated. You need an engineering firm to do it. It's not something you just, sit over coffee on Saturday morning and come up with an application.
Madam Mayor, Doug Piggott from Rowe Engineering set up the one in Perry Township years ago.
Yeah, he did.
And
Yeah, Doug-
there's a lot to it. If you miss a step, you almost have to start over.
yeah, that's exactly right.
So Bob, you said the application process takes, or no matter what, DDA takes 12 to 14 months. Is that to get the application to the state and then they approve, it takes them that long? Or that's just getting all the information?
Getting everything together, you've got to put something together, and then you got to wait 30 days before you do the next step, and then you got to wait another 30 days before you do another step. So by the time all that adds up, now, we've done a lot of the previous things. If you start with your first public hearing here, and you start here, we've got most of this covered.
Okay.
We're, I'd have to go back and look in the notes and everything that I've got. Devin will tell you, she's got a stack of notes too.
We have the thought process, if everybody agrees and continues, is done. It stopped at the formal application, getting council to start doing the resolutions of approval and setting the public hearings. Because one public hearing, once it's set, council can't even touch and think about approval for 60 days. It just sits there.
So we would still, the reason I ask is I'm not, at this moment, necessarily comfortable with saying, yes, let's go ahead, because I don't have enough information. My own, not personal knowledge. But if you're saying that we can go start the process and we still have an out, for lack of a better way to say it, for council, then I'm fine with that. But I don't want to have a bunch of expenditures then that we're stuck with.
Honestly,
Starting the process is fine, as long as we can still opt out and say, no, we haven't spent a bunch of money, we don't, not one of us, all of us, whatever, don't like, we can bring up our concerns for whatever individual research we can do ourselves.
And I hate to go back to the agenda, but we need to do that. Because in our agenda, under new business, there is that discussion. Do we give permission to create a DDA?
Okay.
So we've heard Bob's report, we've heard questions and attempts to answer. Do you have any other questions for him? I'm not asking you to make a decision right now. Okay? Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
So we'll move on to comments from the public. I see a couple people here. I know one of them, so I know she may not. Do you have anything you'd like to say, Melissa?
No, I'm confirming it all.
All right. A sponge. Anything?
I'm your assessor.
You're not the public then.
No.
You don't count behind the mask.
I've been told that.
We are coming to something for you though. So we'll move on from comments from the public to communications from Devin.
I have one. I have two, sorry. One of them is an email from Bob Porter. It says, to the City of Perry, Mayor and Council, it is with great regret that I must resign from the City of Perry Planning Commission effective 12/8/2020. Thank you, Bob Porter. And then the next item that I want to do is you approved a deputy clerk treasurer position. I just want to share the hire notice and if you know anybody interested, and to encourage them to come to our office. And the hire notice says, City of Perry is seeking to fill deputy clerk/treasurer position. The position will start part-time hours while training. Position will advance to full-time with benefits. Must handle multitask 2-year accounting and bookkeeping experience, be organized with exceptional communication skills, have 10 key in computer skills, local government experience preferred, starting salary $17, send letter of interest and resume to City of Perry Mayor, 203 West Polly Street, Perry, Michigan, 48872, or submit in person by 4 p.m. December 23rd. And that's all I have.
We do have any other business farther into the agenda, and when we come to that, you can consider whether you want to approve the audit for today that you just heard. If you want to table it, then we would have to ask to have Luke file for an extension because the state requires this audit be reported by December 30th. So just keep that in mind whether you want to approve it or not at that point when we get there. Now we'll move on to committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? I guess we don't, so we will move on to presentation and approval of the bills.
I move that we approve the bills as presented and that payment be authorized.
Second.
It's been moved by Adam and seconded by Larry that we approve the bills as presented and payment be authorized. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So motion passes. Now, under old business, we have appointments that we had yet to do. We didn't finish those up last time. But I think now this will complete them, or almost complete them. I appointed the following standing committees, and the first named in each of those committees will be the chairman. Finance and Ordinances, Adam Grass, Mindy Galbavy, Larry Lambert. Parks and Properties, Bob Porter, Adam Grass, Terry Wood, and then we do have a public member on that committee, and that's George Dunn. Public Works, Health and Safety, Mindy Galbavy, Craig Elliott, Bob Porter. Business Affairs and Technology, Larry Lambert, Adam Grass, Mindy Galbavy. Personnel, Adam Grass, Mindy Galbavy, Craig Elliott. Labor Negotiations, Larry Lambert, Craig Elliott, Terry Wood. Police Commission, Terry Wood, Bob Porter, Larry Lambert. Safety, Law Enforcement, Craig Elliott, Bob Porter, and Terry Wood. I also appointed an alternate to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and that's why Melissa Whitson's here. Melissa, this is Melissa, everybody. She lives over in Bob Aki's neck of the woods on Garden Lane. And she is familiar to me. I can't really say a true friend because we don't know each other super well, but we've gotten to know each other, and she said to me when she saw I was running for mayor, I'd like to get involved in the city business. And I said, are you sure? But she did, and so she's volunteered to serve, and so she's being appointed to serve as the alternate to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I do need a motion to accept that.
I move that we approve the mayor's appointment of Melissa Whitson as alternative to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term to expire July 2022.
It's been moved by Craig and seconded, or excuse me, moved by Adam and seconded by Craig that we approve mayor's appointment of Melissa Whitson as alternate to Zoning Board of Appeals for a term to expire July 2022. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. And I, on that same committee, have changed. Bob Aki had been serving as an alternate member, And I have changed that to a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, term to expire July 2022. And because we had too many council members on that committee, with Bob being elected and Larry being elected, we had to have someone step down. So we've removed Craig from the Zoning Board of Appeals because the statute doesn't allow two or council or two planning commission members to be on that zoning board. And in light of having an opening now on the planning commission, I have asked Kelly Wilson of 116 West 2nd Street to serve on the planning commission for a term to expire January of 2023. And I'll need a motion.
I move that we approve the mayor's appointment of Kelly Wilson to Planning Commission for a term to expire January 2023.
Second.
So that's been moved by Craig and seconded by Larry that we approve the mayor's appointment of Kelly Wilson to the Planning Commission for a term to expire January 2023. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then we come to the Local Officers Compensation Committee. We had some openings there, and I have appointed to that compensation committee. It only meets every 2 years. Melissa Whitson, who volunteered, who you've already met. Now her term would expire October of 2021. And our past mayor, James Hugulett, has offered to serve on that committee as well for a term to expire 10 of 2025. So I need a motion regarding those two appointments.
I move that we approve the mayor's appointment of Melissa Whitson, term expiring October 2021, and James Hughlett, term expiring 2025, to the Local Officers Compensation Committee.
Second.
So it has been moved and seconded, moved by Larry, seconded by Craig, that we approve the mayor's appointment of Melissa Whitson for the term expiring October 2021 and James Hugulett for the term expiring October 2025. To the LOCC, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I also appointed Merle West as the City of Perry's plumbing and mechanical inspector under the direction of the city's building inspector. This is someone that Rob Kehoe has used in the past, and it was his recommendation that we appoint him to that spot. So we'll need a motion for that appointment.
I move that we approve the mayor's appointment of Merle West under the direction of the city's building inspector and authorize mayor and clerk to sign agreement between city and plumbing and mechanical.
Second.
So that's been moved by Craig and seconded by Larry that we approve that appointment of Merle West under the direction of the city's building inspector and authorize the mayor and the clerk to sign the agreement between the city and the plumbing mechanical inspector. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And then we did have some reappointments that were needed, so I'll just read all of those, and if I could have one motion addressing those. Reappointment of Genevieve Cottrell to the Planning Commission for a term to expire January 2024. Craig Elliott to the Planning Commission for a term to expire January 2024. Jane DeLue to the Board of Review for a term to expire January 2024. James Shaw to the SCOA for a term to expire January 2022. John Plowman is city rep for the I-69 trade corridor for a term to expire January 2023. Joanne Belting as alternate city rep for I-69 trade corridor for a term to expire January 2023.
Mayor,
Yes.
I did catch something.
What's that?
As we put this together as the reappointments, I just want to state to council that one of the appointments actually gets compensation, and I would recommend that person to abstain in a vote, is all.
Okay. Would that be Craig?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Craig, because you're involved in this reappointment, yeah, we'll need to have you abstain.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
That's okay, I'm glad you did now.
I move that we approve all of mayor's reappointments as stated above.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the mayor's appointments as stated above. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And now, council, would you consider a motion to set the city reps for the I-69 trade corridor for both seats to serve 2-year terms instead of 1-year terms?
We didn't vote. We got to backtrack.
I'm sorry.
Oh, did you say, did you ask them to vote?
Mhm.
They have to roll call because there's an abstain.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Live and learn. Okay, so we need to back up to that motion for all those reappointments and do that by roll call. Bob Porter,
Aye.
Adam Grass,
Aye.
Mindy Galbamy,
Yes.
Larry,
Aye.
oh, Craig, you're abstaining.
Terry,
I'm sorry,
yeah. You just
Terry's
call
not
Terry.
here.
Yeah.
No, he does, that doesn't. It's just who's here. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we can move on to,
Sorry.
that's okay, no, I'm glad you said something. To asking the council if you would consider a motion to set the city reps for the I-69 trade corridor for both seats to serve 2-year terms. So if someone would consider that motion.
I move the city representative and city alternate representative of the I-69 corridor board shall be appointed by the mayor with council's approval for a 2-year term.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded that we do increase those to 2-year terms, as Larry just stated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now we're to the new business part. And we kind of touched on this. And just as you see in front of you, that could be the possible approval for the Planning Commission to move forward to start wheels in motion, if you will, to create a DDA. I would recommend that if we do give them that permission, that it is providing that they bring back to us bylaws, a plan, a DDA district definition, select their DDA board, which can be the Planning Commission, and any other matters that are pertinent to that being created. But it's certainly up to you. You've heard discussion tonight. You can act on it tonight. You can table it tonight. You can, whatever you'd like to do. What would you like to do?
I don't disagree with the DDA, but from listening to everybody, I think there's still quite a few questions that need to be answered that hopefully can be done quickly by maybe next meeting or something. But I think putting this off at least till next meeting to get some of those answers together real quick, hopefully would be of benefit for everybody going forward.
Is there cost involved in coming up with the bylaws and the plan and the DDA district and the board? The plan is probably a cost, but the other things on this list, is there a cost to those?
Well, I think they already have a lot of that. They don't have the definition of the boundaries, but some of it they already have. It's just a matter of digging it back out and see if it's still current.
Yeah.
But then, yes, there would be a cost involved to creating the DDA district, definitely.
The bylaws are gonna be difficult because you'd have to get somebody that knows what's involved in it to get them to do it. My suggestion would be, I can put a lot of that information together that Sue had asked for. I can put a lot of that together myself, but I think that we ought to ask, if we're gonna use Roe, I think we ought to ask Roe to come in and make a presentation on what they will do and then what the cost would be.
I would support that. I have a hard time supporting, again, like Craig said, I'm not against the DDA. I think they're a good idea. I don't have enough information to make an educated decision. So I don't want to delay it, but I can't approve it in my being a good conscience.
Well, is your next meeting 2 weeks?
January 7th, yeah,
January 7th?
right.
Oh, I can have the information by then.
Could you check with Rowe to see if they might have someone available who could come and speak to the issues involved and the questions the council might have?
I will call them and ask.
Okay. So let's table this motion and ask them to attend and have that on our agenda for the January 7th meeting.
Do you need a motion to table it?
I don't
Or you
know.
can do no action and
No
it'll
action
automatically
taken,
go
yeah.
into the next meeting. It's your choice.
Okay,
A
Let's do
motion or
no
no
action
action.
taken.
no action taken.
So the direction is on this, I can still put discussion on it. Council will receive more information about DDA at that meeting. Would that
Yes,
be okay?
and a presentation by Bob and also by Rowe, we hope.
Okay.
Maybe Justin could even be here if he could.
Okay.
And I recommend everyone read the law and start there. It will give you questions. And, I guess I'd like to make sure that people that are involved in the boundaries would have opportunity to know exactly what's happening, as we attempted to do last time.
Do what now?
People that are gonna be within those boundaries, when that's decided, will have all the facts.
I can't do that between now and January 7th.
No, but
With those come about, and don't we have to have public hearings during this time too?
Yeah.
When those things come up in that
Yeah.
process also, but we could wait.
Well, the law is written that you don't have to have that until after the DDA is formed.
Okay.
But we wanted to have it beforehand for what Mindy's saying, so that you can tell people this is where it is.
Yeah.
So that's what we were going on, but if we followed the law, you just put the DDA in and then tell them, hey, this is it.
Okay.
But that isn't the
and
way
I
we
don't wanna see
wanted
that
to go.
happen. I want people to know exactly what the deal is.
Well, there's letters that are mailed out and everything else. I mean, this is why we need somebody else other than us to do it.
Yeah, the other thing, Bob, if you've got any other reference material, as Bob asked earlier, we got one spot from Mindy, but if you've got anything else.
Okay,
between now and-
well, I was waiting till I could bring it up. I will stop into Devon's office tomorrow and give her the email or the website address for the DDA site. And it's got everything, and then she can fire it out to everybody.
I mean, that's just some more advanced reference material that we can educate ourselves with before the 7th as well.
Because I was trying to look online and answer my questions online, and I didn't find any answers, so that's why.
Well, that website, well, let me put it this way. There was a certain law that was written, and then it applied to the website addressed that. Now I understand there's a new law that we've got to find out what the difference is. So, but that's all can come in the future.
And that's really why we need to hear from Rowe and Justin and people who are doing this all the time, and definitely read. Mindy's right, we need to educate ourselves as best we can
Yeah.
prior to them.
Well, and I did find some attorney general opinions, but they may be outdated.
Yeah.
And I'm not that good to know the difference. So,
Well, at
I
least
do
we'll have some
have- presentation,
Can I have that?
if that's helpful to you.
Yeah, could I have that, and then I'll get it back to you?
Yes.
Is there anything else that we need to discuss in relation to the DDA? Okay, so we can move on to the possible approval of the Shiawassee interlocal agreement for the designated assessor, which is why our assessor is here tonight.
You want me to go ahead?
Yes, if you would.
Is Justin still on the line?
No.
Oh, okay. What this is, the State Tax Commission is, I'm sorry, I'm Steve Schweikert, I'm your local assessor, everybody's friend, right? The State Tax Commission has taken upon themselves to study the assessing function of the assessors for the state of Michigan. And they put you through a 14-point test, and then it's called the assessing minimal assessing requirements. And if you fail that, you need to do a reappraisal or whatever. We have passed with 95% efficiency in the city of Perry twice. So we're in good shape. Our records are really good. I'm also the supervisor assessor for Owasso Charter Township. So the bigger townships have to tweak some things. And all they're asking here is that if in the event something would go bad, that you have a plan B. The state's requiring that. And what this is Pete Preston's office at the county has designated a countywide assessor and given you the prices of what it would cost. And if you don't have an interlocal inter-agreement, then it could be double the price. So this just locks you in, and you don't have to do this. I mean, you sign this agreement, but you can do it yourself if you can talk to the State Tax Commission into agreeing with what you're doing. You have to have a plan, but you have to fail twice. And what they do is they take, let's say 15 assessment cards out, and they look at those to see if you're in compliance, if everything is compensated for. And you know and I know that sometimes, not so much in the city, but people will build a deck the weekend and a couple buddies, and Monday morning you got a deck. How I catch stuff is the building inspector gives me a permit, and I know something's been done, and I go out and check that. But if they find a deck and you don't have it on your assessment card, you fail. Whether it was legal or not, it didn't matter. So anyhow, we did real well. We were over 90-some%. So this is just a plan B that the state wants, that in the event that something would go wrong, if you could. My township signed it, probably at least half of the county has signed it. There's 21 assessing units in the county, 5 cities and 16 townships. So they're just asking that you go along with that. Because if you don't, and something is ordered by the state, the price is going to double. Because then you're desperate. Then you're in trouble already. It's like changing your oil in your car, and you don't do it, and the engine goes, and the price goes up. Kind of thing. Do you have any questions? I mean, actually, the county should probably be here doing this, but I just thought I'd explain it.
Thank you for being here to do that. Does anybody have any questions for Steve regarding that?
What is the fee for? What do you?
The fee, what happens is we have about 1,000 parcels in the city of Perry, residential, commercial, industrial, and that second or third page from the back tells, now that's the number of parcels.
That's the parcel, okay.
And real property is your building and your land. Personal
Personal
property,
is equipment and stuff.
yeah, machinery and equipment, furniture and pictures. The price in there for $20 a parcel for residential parcels, and then $50 for commercial industrial. That's what they would charge if they had to come in and redo something.
The county is the county assessor or the interlocal assessor.
Right. That's
Okay.
just to maintain the files is the first numbers. If you had to go out and measure every house, and the state wants 20% done a year over 5 years. We keep up with things here very well. To go to 20% of the city, you'd have this meeting full with, I mean, just to check things. You know, we're only a small city,
Right.
so it's not that hard, but, you know, we keep checking things. Does that explain it for you?
Yes, thank you.
So this motion would simply allow the council to adopt, being part of that interlocal
Right.
agreement.
Right. You're not obligated to it. If you can come up with a better plan, cheaper plan, you're fine. And I don't see this ever having to have to go this way, but the state is requiring that you have an agreement in place.
I move that the city of Perry approve the Shiawassee County interlocal agreement for the county designated assessor and authorize the mayor to sign the same.
Second.
So we have a motion by Adam and a second by Bob that that the city of Perry approve the Shiawassee County interlocal agreement for the county designated assessor and authorize the mayor to sign the same. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Have a safe trip.
Okay, got watch the road, just like.
Now we're looking at a possible amendment to council rules of procedures policy. And that would be for the following amendments to the Perry City Council Rules of Procedure. The council committees, we've already talked about this and stated who's going to be there, so it's kind of putting the cart before the horse, but the following title under council committees will have additional committees inserted. So the standing committees are listed as you can see them: Finance and Ordinance, Parks and Properties, Public Works, and so forth. You can read those. But we do need a motion to make that amendment to the City Council Rules of Procedures.
I move that the following amendments to the Perry City Council Rules of Procedures be adopted. Do we need to read it all, Devin?
You could say as stated by the mayor.
As stated by the mayor.
Second.
So we have that motion for the following amendments to the Perry City Council rules: the council committees, standing committees, Finance and Ordinance, Parks and Properties, Public Works, Health and Safety, Business Affairs and Technology, Personnel, Labor Negotiations, Police Commission, Safety, Law Enforcement. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now we have to talk about possible approval of a purchase of a locator for buried utilities. This is something for the DPW. It is a payment to a company named Pollard Water for an amount not to exceed $744.36.
Is this to replace one?
I'm not sure if it's to
Yes.
replace or,
I did ask John because he wasn't going to attend.
okay.
He has two of them. One doesn't do exactly this and the other one is malfunctioning, and he did budget for this to happen.
Okay.
I move that we authorize payment to Pollard Water for an amount not to exceed $744.36.
Second.
So we do have that motion by Adam, seconded by Larry, that we authorize payment to Pollard Water for an amount not to exceed $744.36. Do we have to roll call this one? Because it's money or no?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we heard earlier the letter that Bob sent regarding his resignation from the Planning Commission. And I know he didn't want to do that because he really enjoyed serving there, but now he's serving on the council, so we had too many people, too many council members on the Planning Commission. So Bob volunteered to step down, so we have his letter, but I do need a motion accepting that resignation.
I move that we accept the resignation of Bob Porter from the Planning Commission with a lot of regret.
Second.
So we have that motion from Craig, seconded by Larry, that we accept the resignation of Bob Porter from the Planning Commission with regret. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I don't get to vote, do I?
Only if you run for council next
No,
time.
all right.
Bob got real quiet, real fast.
Now we're coming to that part where we can back up to the audit that Luke presented to us tonight, if you're comfortable with it and you want to make a motion to accept the city audit and allow that to be submitted, I'll sign that on the council's behalf. If for any reason you're not comfortable with it, we will need to ask him to apply for an extension and table this until next month. What's your pleasure?
I have a question. And that would be, I think he referenced at the last part of his discussion, did he provide or is he going to provide an executive high-level summary? You know, that basically, I gathered from his comments that there weren't any real negatives that he found.
Yeah,
But no place, you know, on the top page or couple pages, does it clearly, I see that clearly stated that we got a clean bill of health.
There's a clean bill of health, and my typical experience is that the final submittal on the last page, if there is, it's nothing that is going against our audit, but they may see recommendations of what internally we can consider of the controls of balance, because we're so small. They might give some advice on that. And that's the only thing that I didn't see included in that. But if you're comfortable that it's just a recommendation that may come, it's not affecting our audit, I would imagine Sue would agree with me. We would get you the whole final copy, and you would see those if they have them.
Yeah.
We've had recommendations for the last 3 years from them. And in my opinion, I think we just solved the last 2 that they wanted us to change, but he didn't include them, so I'm not sure where they stand on the recommendation on that.
That's
More of a question, I'm not gonna hold it up for that, but I'm just trying to.
But you are right.
Yeah.
They usually have recommendations in the back of internal control of what they see could be done better.
Yeah. And I was surprised to not see that, because when I talked to him on the phone 2 days ago, that's what he said. You've got a clean bill of health, everything's good, everything looks fine. There'll be a few recommendations. I said, like regarding what? And he said it's just a recommendation to maybe do this a little differently. So I expected to see those, but didn't. But I called them Tuesday and said, what is the status of our audit? And he said, well, actually, I just saw it come across. It is done. So then we talked, well, can we get it from you in time to hear it Thursday night so we don't have to file an extension? Or do we just need to file an extension and do it next month? He said, it's up to you, whatever you want to do. So they were kind of scrambling to get that out to us to be here tonight. But it's absolutely up to you, whatever.
I move that we accept the 2019-2020 city audit as presented by Luke Downing from CPA from Clark, Schaefer, and Hackett.
Second.
Was that Mindy? So it's been moved by Adam and seconded by Mindy that we accept the 2019-2020 city audit as presented by Luke Downing, CPA, from Clark, Schaefer, and Hackett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Holy mackerel, we're at the end.
Not yet.
Not yet?
You didn't ask for public comment.
Oh, I forgot that part. Do we hear any public comment? Anyone?
Phone line.
Sorry.
Phone line. No, phone line.
Oh, is there any online? Sorry. I
He
always
gets
forget
you
that.
on that
Yes,
one,
he
doesn't
does.
he?
He gets me every time.
We're good on Zoom.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anything that the council would like to share? Anyone?
I would, I'm looking into, I just started the process to see what we could do. I don't know if anybody's familiar, there's a system, it's a crosswalk system, it's called, the acronym is HAWKS. Push the button, it stops, it's all solar powered. So I started the process to look, see if there's one that grants available for us to pay for it. It would take a couple of years to do it anyways, to get everything in place, but I just wanted to bring that out to council if anybody's objection has an objection to that.
No, not at all.
The other thing is just to, I know the mayor has instructed the police to watch the speed.
Yeah.
They do have those animated signs, they're solar powered, and it says slow down or thank you.
Yep.
They're relatively inexpensive, they're, less than $2,000 a piece, so that's something that we could consider putting onto our post in the city. If anybody, I can continue my research in that, if anyone is interested in that continuation. I don't want to waste my time or waste the pleasure of the council to looking into those things.
I would recommend you ask MDOT on any of that.
I already have someone looking into all that stuff. Yep.
Perfect. That's the only concern I would have, that
Yep,
would stop you.
because it's their road, basically.
Yeah,
so.
okay, great.
That's great if that's the price, because that's one of the things that I talked to Kyle about. Couldn't we just get something that says,
Yeah,
You know.
the little research I've done, I haven't spent a lot of time on it. I think I found one for the speed limit sign was, I think the cheapest was $1,200 or $1,300. The most expensive was $2,500. So they're relatively inexpensive for what you get. So, and I know there's other communities that have them because I drive by them all the time. So, and it does help me because I tend to have a lead foot. So,
does anybody have objection to Bob doing this research?
Absolutely not.
Okay, great. Anything else anybody wants to bring? What about agenda items for the next meeting? The Planning Commission, information about the DDA. We still have a moratorium on A-frame signs. I've been entertaining myself by reading the city charter and all that. I know you guys have too, but a moratorium is supposed to be a temporary thing. So we need to get back on this. Do you feel ready to put it on the agenda for next time?
sure.
All right. Anything else? And Bob, if you get information about that together, bring the information. We may have to assign that to whichever of our standing committees is over that. It might
Okay.
be yours, but.
One of, yeah, it'd be under the police and safety or whatever that one
Yeah.
was.
Okay. Nothing else? Then this meeting's adjourned.
What time, ma'am?
Oh, I'm sorry. 8:47 PM.